I got as much equipment as you do. I'll get all my glasses and all my book and everything set up. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayana Vishnu, Supremest Human Being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the Goddess of Learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva Author. Srimvatam Swakata Krishna
Srimvatam Swakata Krishna
Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Vidyantasthobhya Bhadrani Vidunoti Suvritsatam Shri Krishna, the Personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, Super Soul, in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashta Preshu Bhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So, we have a reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 14, the disappearance of Lord Krishna, and text 10. The first word is made of two words. Pasha. You can see it? Pasha.
I can't see now. I can't even see it. But the reflection from this light is a problem. Yeah, it's better that way.
Send that reflection out the door.
We just need to get this light off. This is the problem.
Is it that light there? Is
I mean, if we could see without it, we could turn the light off.
Is that light?
Yeah, these lights, they reflect off of it, so back here you just see a bright spotlight.
Yeah, you have to aim it so that the reflection goes a different way. But you got it right now, somebody else maybe.
Yeah, it's like playing a game.
That's not the one, is it?
That's perfect.
That's
perfect.
the one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, first word, Pasya, Utpatan. So it comes together as Pasyot Patan. Pasyot Patan. Okay, Nara. Vyagra. Pasyot Patan Nara Vyagra. Divyan. Bhauman. Sadahikan. Divyan Bhauman Sadahikan. Darunan. Shamsato. Durad. Daruans. No. I was going to say the whole one. Darunan. No, I'm stuck. Darunan Shamsato Durad. Vayam. No. Buddhi. Mohanam. Vayam no Buddhi Mohanam. Pasyot Patan Naravyagra. Divyan Bhauman Sadahikan. Darunan Shamsato Durad. Vayam no Buddhi Mohanam. Pasyot Patan Naravyagra. Divyan Bhauman Sadahikan. Darunan Shamsato Durad. Vayam no Buddhi Mohanam.
Pasyot Patan Naravyagra. Divyan Bhauman Sadahikan. Darunan Shamsato Durad. Vayam no Buddhi Mohanam.
Pasyot Patan Naravyagra. Divyan Bhauman Sadahikan. Darunan Shamsato Durad. Vayam no Buddhi Mohanam.
Pasyot Patan Naravyagra. Divyan Bhauman Sadahikan. Darunan Samsato Durad. Bhayamno buddhimohanam.
Bhayamno buddhimohanam.
Ladies?
Pasyotpatanaravyavra
Pasyopatanaravyagha.
Divyanno mansarikam
Divyanno mansadahikam.
Darunam samsato durat
Darunam samsato durat.
Bhayamno buddhimohanam
Bhayamno buddhimohanam.
Anybody else? Want to try? Okay. All right. Word meanings. Pasya, just see. Utpatan, disturbances. Naravyagraha, O man of tiger-like strength. Divyan, happenings in the sky, or by planetary influence. Bhuman, happenings on the earth.
Happenings on earth.
Sadahikan,
Sadahikan.
happenings of the body and the mind.
Happenings on the body and the mind.
Darunam,
Darunam.
awfully dangerous.
Awfully dangerous.
Shamsataha, indicating.
Indicating.
Adurat,
Adurat.
in the near future.
In the near future.
Bhayam,
Bhayam.
danger.
Danger.
Naha,
Our.
Buddhi,
Buddhi.
intelligence.
Intelligence.
Mohanam,
Mohanam.
deluding.
Deluding.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
Okay, I'll read the whole thing first. Just see, O man with a tiger's strength, how many miseries due to celestial influences, earthly reactions, and bodily pains, all very dangerous in themselves, are foreboding danger in the near future by deluding our intelligence. Please repeat. Just see,
Just see.
O man with a tiger's strength,
O man with the tiger's strength.
how many miseries
How many miseries
due to celestial influences,
due to celestial influences,
earthly reactions, and bodily pains,
and bodily pains,
all very dangerous in themselves,
all very dangerous in themselves,
are foreboding danger
danger
in the near future
in the near future
by deluding our intelligence.
by deluding our intelligence.
So, purport. Material advancement of civilization means advancement of the reactions of the threefold miseries due to celestial influence, earthly reactions, and bodily or mental pains. By the celestial influence of the stars, there are many calamities like excessive heat, cold, rains or no rains, and the after effects of famine, disease, and epidemic. The aggregate result is agony of the body and the mind. Man-made material science cannot do anything to counteract these threefold miseries. They're all punishments from the superior energy of Maya under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, our constant touch with the Lord by devotional service can give us relief without our being disturbed in the discharge of our human duties. The asuras, asura means the demons, the non-believers, the atheists. The asuras, however, who do not believe in the existence of God, make their own plans to counteract all these threefold miseries, and so they meet with failures every time. The Bhagavad Gita 7:14 clearly states that the reaction of material energy is never to be conquered because of the binding effects of the three modes. They can simply be overcome by one who surrenders fully in devotion under the lotus feet of the Lord. Om Jnana Timirandasya Anjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmitayena Born in the darkest of ignorance, my spiritual master opened my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances again. So where do we start? Start with the threefold miseries. It says threefold miseries. Usually the list is a little different. It covers the same way, but here it's described that the threefold miseries of the material world are from the stars and planetary influences, which means from the demigods. because the demigods influence through those somehow. I don't know how it works. And I don't know how it works. But somehow they're really are demigods behind how the astrology works. And they are controlling the forces of nature. And then there's the effects on earth of how we're suffering. And then there's suffering in the body and mind. So usually it's kind of broke up as miseries caused by the demigods, which is the forces of nature that they're controlling under Krishna's direction. And then misery is caused by other living entities, anything from other humans who are enemies to mosquitoes or something, and illnesses. Then misery is caused by the body and mind. So your illness might be by some bugs attacking, or it might be by your body's own problems. But anyways, it's sort of broken down. Anyway, there are threefold miseries. However you cut the pie, they're everywhere we turn. There are miseries in the material world. And it's because we're in this body and there's all these forces and we can't control them. In fact, the harder we try to control them, the more we get reactions binding us. Because you gotta take, if you want to control some misery, you gotta take some action and do something else. And then there's always going to be reaction for every action. So we cannot rise above that. We just get ourselves embedded in more and more deeply. So let's see whether there's another point comes. These are all very dangerous in themselves. Misery is due to celestial influences, the verse says, earthly reactions and bodily pains. So these are dangerous in themselves. It's enough to be suffering, but they're foreboding danger in the near future. So he was saying that the fact that these things are happening shows that more is coming. And of course, we've been talking about the change of the ages. So he was seeing the disappearance of Lord Krishna at the end of the last age, and there's going to become Kali Yuga. There's going to be a whole lot more of these things happening because more bad karma, and it's the accumulation of bad karma and just a less pure age. For one, maybe we should discuss why there are ages. Anyways, there are 4 ages that are recycling. Right, the first age is most pure, and is called the Satya Yuga. It's the age of really everybody's in the mode of goodness. It's a pure age. It's a time in the material world. There's a time for everything. There's a time for the pure life, and then it's so pure. The atmosphere is so pure. The karmic atmosphere is so pure that meditation is very easy. Life is very long, 100,000 years, and meditation for 10,000 years to prepare for your life is, very easy.
60,000.
60,000 years what? Meditation?
To become perfect in Satya Yuga, it's mystic meditation for 60,000 years.
And that isn't impossible.
There may be different explanations, but I remember that definitively,
Okay.
60,000.
I was remembering it was like Daksha's sent his sons and they meditated. It was Daksha, Prajapati's sons, and meditated for 10,000 years. Anyways, thousands of years. And to meditate for thousands of years is not any more impossible than for us to chant 16 rounds if we're determined, So it's a different kind of age, and the karmic situation is different than the souls who are people in that age are very pure souls. So then the next one is down a little bit. Because we think that we're making improvements and we think things go up. Actually, they don't. They start good and they go down. So the next age is a little bit less pure, and meditation by itself is a little bit too hard. So then they have giant sacrifices that everybody participates and contributes to and everything, and it's vastly expensive but very purifying. The demigods come and everything is something we can't even imagine. The purity, the perfection of those sacrifices, the hugeness and expense of them, the participation of everybody, we can't even imagine. That's why it's not the recommended thing to do in this age. And so then the recommended thing to do in the next stage goes down a little bit more. That's elaborate deity service. So we still do deity service, but we do simplified form. They do very elaborate, and that's everybody is into that. And that's the way of that age, of getting purified. Now in the Kali Yuga, we may still do some form of sacrifice. Well, we have a little fire sacrifices. We have a deity service that's simpler, and but the main thing of this age that really purifies is the congregational chanting of the holy names, and that's sometimes hard enough for people to participate in this age, and to get your japa done, your chanting done. So, but yet this is the most fallen age, and that's the most easy, and it gets you the highest. So it makes up for it. This age makes up for its low points, because this chanting of the holy names gets you to the highest level. And said the demigods are lining up, waiting to take birth on earth in Kali Yuga, so that they can participate in the Hare Krishna movement. So the highest and the lowest going on at the same time. And so this is where we have these different ages, and at the changing of the age, it's a gradual process, but you can see it's like disturbing to see the disturbances start coming. And previously things, especially because Krishna had been on the earth, but also it was the previous age and things were higher. So for Yudhisthira to begin to observe these changes and things, disturbances happening, and not bad signs and bad behavior of people, and more negative reactions and more negative karma happening. So it's not only dangerous to themselves, but foreboding danger in the near future. And then it says, by deluding our intelligence. So the more we suffer, not knowing why, that we tend to lose intelligence too. So then according to the mood of this purport, it's about how we cannot change it. We cannot get free of it by our own efforts. So we make more efforts, and our intelligence gets more diluted the more efforts we make. And what comes to my mind every time I read this, I'm thinking about the chemtrails in the sky. So they are, at first it was like a conspiracy theory that they're making chemtrails, and nobody believed it, but now it's starting more and more people know that they're really doing it. They're really starting to admit it too. They're trying to control the weather by spewing stuff out of jet planes and crisscrossing the sky, putting this fine nanoparticle, nanoparticles means finer than fine particles, and it's like super, like, I don't know if you can see with a microscope, maybe electron microscope or something, but these particles of like aluminum and barium and stuff like that. Why do we want that in the air coming down on us? But they're putting it up in the sky to try to control the weather, to reflect off the sunlight, or to collect moisture, make it rain or something. They're trying to fight global warming and climate change. And they don't want to admit climate change is there, but they're desperately sending their airplanes up to crisscross the sky with this poisonous substance that's going to fall down on our crops. And it hurts some places. They do it so much it has hurt the farmland. And so this shows that those who don't believe, they make all these extra efforts to try to control, try to fix it, and they're just making more bad karma. They cannot get free of it. It's just making things worse. So intelligence is getting more and more diluted. It's not diluted, that too I guess. Deluded, like delusion. So celestial influence, earthly reactions, and bodily or mental pains. We have a lot of illnesses, a lot of mental pains, mental disturbances, more illnesses than you can imagine going on. All these things happening, and some of them are caused by these cancers, and things are caused by increasing attempt to control nature and make things nicer, make things more pleasurable, more convenient. And then people get more cancer, then we have to have more chemicals to fight the cancer, and so it just gets worse and worse, and people die from the cancer medicine sometimes, and not from the cancer. So the result is agony of the body and the mind. Man-made material science cannot do anything to counteract these threefold miseries. So they are punishments from the superior energy of Maya under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Now, what's Maya? Maya is actually personified, a person. Maya is Krishna's energy of that's the word, illusion. Energy of illusion, illusory potency. In the spiritual, they have Maya too. But in the spiritual world, Maya takes a different form. It's called Yoga Maya. The word yoga means to link with the Supreme, and the Maya in the spiritual world covers up the knowledge of the pure devotees that Krishna is God. so they're not so awe and reverence. So Krishna can play with them. And they can have their natural dynamics out of pure love for Krishna. Because they can't really see that he's God. Because this yoga maya is covering and making this nice atmosphere of familiar, loving exchanges that Krishna likes so much. And that everybody is inspired to and everybody belongs in. So Maya is always involved. And so Maya is always assisting Krishna in his pastimes. But in the material world, Krishna's pastime, the main pastime in the material world, besides the specific activities Krishna comes for, the main material world pastime is Krishna supports this material universe so that the souls who don't want to serve him have a place to go and do what they want to do and get their punishment and get purified and come back eventually. So because it's free will. So we could just go and we could try to control. We could find out that there's a reaction. We could try to counter the reaction. We could just go through this again and again until we start to say, maybe there's something better. So this is, and Krishna has expanded himself, and of this material world, he's in every atom, and he's in every heart, personally present, supporting everything. And he supports our bodily activities, because I don't know how I'm wiggling my finger. I just decided to wiggle it and show you that I'm wiggling it. I don't know really how I did it. And I'm a spirit soul. I don't really know how my body works. I just have a desire, and I'm intimately connected with this body and this mind. But the connection is facilitated by a super soul in the heart. So he is helping us connect, because otherwise we're spirit. We're not material. We don't know how to control matter, really. So we have this body, and because we have these desires to work the body, this super soul is there helping everything we do. And waiting for us to say, is there something better? Who am I really? Who is God really? Why am I suffering? So that's the beginning, and he's waiting and waiting for that moment when he can start to help us actually get out. Anyways, we are in this body by a constant touch with the Lord by devotional service, and can get relief without being disturbed by the discharge of our human duties. So if we are surrendering to the Lord in devotional service, we get this peace, this relief. And we can do our human duties and we're not disturbed. Well, there's a lot of disturbance around us, right? But internally we can remain undisturbed if we're constantly involving in some kind of devotional service, hearing, chanting, remembering, and then the different activities that we do. So this is our relief. And we can't get relief ourselves. We would try so many tricks and so many things. Push one thing down, another thing comes up. You can't fix it. You just make it different. It's still going on. You can't get relief. But then if you are surrendering in devotional service, then Krishna gives us relief. So, let's see. It says here, the Bhagavad Gita 7:14 clearly states that the reaction of material energy is never to be conquered because of the binding effects of the three modes. It can simply be overcome by one who surrenders fully in devotion under the lotus feet of the Lord. So I'll read that in this verse. One of many. Dadi esha gunamayi mamamaya duratyaya mamivaye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. This divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. And I'm going to read, the book was a little bit long. There's a lot of good stuff in it. I'll try reading a little bit. I've got time. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has innumerable energies, and all these energies are divine. Although the living entities are part of his energies and are therefore divine, due to contact with material energy, their original superior power is covered. Now material energy, then, is divine also, because it's Krishna's energy, and it's totally under control of Krishna. It actually has no consciousness of its own, but it's filled with Krishna's consciousness. So, although being thus covered by material energy, one cannot possibly overcome its influence. As previously stated, both the material and spiritual natures, being emanations from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are eternal. The living entities belong to the eternal superior nature of the Lord. Superior, they have consciousness. We have consciousness, and so does the Lord. But due to contamination by the inferior nature of matter, their illusion is also eternal. So this word eternal here means eternal until we surrender. It's possible to forever refuse to surrender, and every time the material world is created again and again, it's created and dissolved and created and dissolved. And if we perpetually refuse to surrender, we have the choice to eternally refuse to surrender, then we will be reincarnating forever. But we don't, this eternal thing here doesn't have to be that our illusion is eternal, but it's as if it's eternal because we don't know the beginning of it. The conditioned soul is therefore called Nitya Baddha, or eternally conditioned. No one can trace out the history of his becoming conditioned at a certain date in material history. Consequently, his release from the clutches of material nature is very difficult, even though that material nature is an inferior energy, because material energy is ultimately conducted by the supreme will, which the living entity cannot overcome. Inferior material nature is defined herein as divine nature due to its divine connection and movement by the divine will. Being conducted by divine will, material nature, although inferior, acts so wonderfully in the construction and destruction of the cosmic manifestation. So, we may be a lot smarter than matter because we're conscious, and we may play at controlling matter. We may be allowed to do that to some degree, depending on our karma and our desires. So if you are born into really bad karma, then you can't control very much and you suffer a lot. If you're born into good karma, you have some more control and you feel like I can control things, but you may be creating bad karma next life. You may not have it so nice. So we can't control. It's bigger than we are because it's Krishna's energy controlled by Krishna. And Krishna is bigger than we are. We're tiny, tiny spirit souls. And we cannot overcome Krishna. So that's why we cannot overcome matter, even though we're much smarter than matter is, because matter isn't conscious in its own right. So you'd think we could, if we have the illusion that we can control matter, you'd think we could, right? But it doesn't work that way. So another meaning of guna is rope. It is to be understood that the conditioned soul is tightly tied by the ropes of illusion. A man bound by the hands and feet cannot free himself. He must be helped by a person who is unbound. Because the bound cannot help the bound, the rescuer must be liberated. Therefore, only Lord Krishna or his bona fide representative, the spiritual master, can release the conditioned soul. Without such superior help, one cannot be freed from the bondage of material nature. So, I was thinking about how there appears to be a contradiction here in a way. It's Krishna who releases us, but then one recites the prayers to the spiritual master in the morning, and it's the spiritual master who liberates everybody, seems like, right? The spiritual master, being a pure devotee, a liberated soul, Prabhupada is a pure devotee, liberated soul who came down to preach to us, not someone who is bound by tons and tons of karma from millions of lifetimes like we are. A liberated soul. He's able to liberate us. But what does he give us? He gives us pure devotion. It's not like Prabhupada generally came to just himself liberate everybody. He came to teach us how to bring us to Krishna. And he is pure, so he knows the way. And then Krishna is the liberator. Because in, let's see. Sorry for that. We'll be back here. Bhagavad Gita. It's 12. Sorry, come on. 12. Okay, 12, 6, and 7. But those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Pita. For them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So I would say, sometimes we say that the spiritual master delivers us, and sometimes we say Krishna delivers us. But the analogy, the image that explains this is that at the time of death we fly our own airplane, and the spiritual master isn't there he may be there assisting the approach to the moment. But at the time of death, we have to fly our own airplane, and we have to fly it by the practice that the spiritual master has taught us. which is to remember Krishna. Chant his holy names if possible and just think of Krishna. And then Krishna becomes the swift deliverer. Although recently I heard a story about, I don't know, did somebody tell it here or did I read it? But something like anybody help me remember this if it was said here. Krishna said to somebody that I will take you. Yeah, this was a son of his childhood playmate, I think. Who knows, or his childhood playmate. Anyway, this person was dying, and Krishna invited him to come. He was sick in bed, he was dying, but not really on deathbed yet, I guess, or maybe it was. Anyway, Prabhupada said, I will come to the movement and we can preach together, so come, I will take you. And it sounded externally like he was saying, I will take you out preaching with me, or to the next preaching event.
It was on Facebook.
It was on Facebook, and I told you about it.
Right.
Yeah. But actually that night the man died. And so it became clear to the son that Prabhupada was speaking about that, and that that Prabhupada came and took him back to Godhead. So Prabhupada can take extra action like that. And also there's a story of a devotee who fell away, a Prabhupada disciple. He fell away. He was long gone way out in the material world. And he was dying, and at his moment of death, he saw Prabhupada. He said, Prabhupada, you came. So the spiritual master can take extra action. A pure devotee like Prabhupada can take extra action and help his soul. But the main thing is by Krishna's mercy. So Krishna's the deliverer, and the spiritual master is the deliverer in a different way. So this is important to understand how this works. It's not like we practice all our lives, but not like we create our own deliverance, because it's like the old debate of works versus faith. We have to practice. We have to do the reaching. We have to do the work ourselves, but at the same time, it's useless if Krishna doesn't reach down. If the spiritual master doesn't help, if Krishna doesn't reach down and pull us up, we can't do it like the man in the well. There was a story, like the Christians have this faith versus works debate. And it always ends up that, of course, it takes both. But they've had down through history this faith versus works debate. So they had one in India too. But they were using there were two groups arguing about two different images. One said the soul is like the baby monkey. The soul has to hang on to God. It's up to the soul to hang on to God, and because the baby monkey has to hang on to the mother, and the mother's got to have her hands free to climb. So the other group said, no, it's like the baby kitten. We just depend on God, and He'll take us. We can't do anything. So they're having this faith versus works kind of debate. And anybody know who one of the great acharyas came? I don't remember which one. And said, actually, it's a different image. It's the man falls down in the well. Another man comes and finds him down there. So the man on top throws down a rope. The man at the bottom has to hang on to the rope. The man on top pulls him up, but only if the man at the bottom hangs on. So it takes both. So again, it's faith and works both. So we have to practice our whole life to create this habit and this desire, and to get purified by the action of devotional service. And yet, we can't do anything by ourselves. It's all to the spiritual master and to Krishna. So, it's both. We're totally dependent. So again, it says here, the Bhagavad Gita clearly states that the reaction of material energy is never to be conquered because of the binding effects. They can simply be overcome by one who surrenders fully in devotion under the lotus feet of the Lord. So, only by Krishna. We can't cure anything. We can apparently cure it temporarily. We can't cure anything. We don't know. If we try to handle things ourselves, we don't know where we're going to be in the next life. We may be kind of puffed up. We have good karma in this life. We may think, wow, this isn't so hard to handle. Like there's people who entertain the idea that it would be nice to be an animal in their next life, because they look at their pampered dogs and they think, oh, it'd be fine to be a dog in the next life. Look, they have everything they want. They get pampered. It's a nice life. Not all dogs have a nice life. So, and you don't know. And you may think that human birth, I'm pretty smart, I can do a lot of things. If I have to take another birth as a human, I'll just keep making progress. But there's a lot of humans, a lot of souls take a birth in humans' life that do not have it very good at all. In war-torn countries, trying to escape, drown in the ocean when the boat sinks, blown up by bombs, maimed, or starving, or malnutrition, illnesses, brain damage, awful things, trauma all their life can happen. Just because we have a good birth now doesn't mean we'll always have a good birth. And we may be participating in things that give us bad karma. And we may not even know, but there's just this reaction. So we should be very serious about the option to surrender to Krishna. We should really try to understand that and really try to take advantage of the opportunity to know about this, about Krishna, to know about the spiritual master and Prabhupada's books. He's given us all this knowledge. It's an amazing amount of knowledge. It's so complete. It's like any questions all along the way learning, because you're learning deeper and deeper and deeper, but actually it covers everything. And anybody else has a question, you can answer it, because you know. So we should take advantage of this opportunity, and we can allow, by our devotional service, by our constant touch with the Lord and our devotional service, we can get relief without being disturbed in the discharge of our human duties. Because we have our duties, and we have to do things, but we won't be disturbed internally in our faith because we surrender to Krishna. So I think that I'm going to stop here. Is there any discussion, questions, comment? Yeah. Yes.
Thank you for the nice class. Reminds me of the person said, "Oh, I give such nice advice to other people." And it's like the kudzu issue we have in the South. They brought this plant kudzu in to stop erosion, and it became an invasive plant, and you see it all along the highways, and particularly in other states.
Mm-hmm.
And it's destroying trees, and so trying to fix it, they make a bigger problem.
Mm-hmm. Usually
when man tries to fix something, they make another problem. The side effects are negative, but when Krishna fixes a God,
why do we have problems to fix?
the side effects are good.
Why do we have problems to fix?
Oh, because we're here.
Yeah, okay, but because we're accumulating bad karma. It's bad karma. Yes.
In the one point you were making about the faith and work thing, it occurred to me that the real discerning factor is knowledge, because the desire is what determines what happens to us, and our desire is formed by our actual ability to have a database to be able to discern. So when one has real knowledge, then we can become free. So that's the point of the spiritual master or anyone giving us knowledge and opening our eyes, then we're able to make the right decision. So really I would say, rather than that work versus faith debate, it comes down to knowledge is actually what liberates us.
Yeah, but you have to, if somebody never saw a rope before, and they're in a well, and they never saw a rope before, they don't know if you hang on you can get out. Well, yeah, of course. Yeah. But you still have to do the hanging on. We have to actually work to counteract our bad habits and change them into good ones according to the knowledge.
There. But the reason we do that is because we're inspired to do it.
Right.
In other words, you can work like a robot and you don't get the effect.
Well, you have to have knowledge first. Yeah.
Knowledge has to be there. It's like the discerning point.
Yeah.
And then another point I just wanted, if you don't mind, and I'll be quiet, was that
that's good.
the global warming thing is a big debate within the world. And even in this kind, you have so many people who embrace, the scientists, supposition that, because of the CO2, et cetera, that the Earth's atmosphere is changing. And to a certain degree, there may be some point. I'm not debating, I'm definitely an environmentalist, all of that, but the point being I'm debating is that the real cause of the global warming is a cycle of the sun, where the sun goes through different solar expansions. And if you study history of astrometeorology, you'll see that we've gone through these warming and cooling cycles. And so, according to astrometeorology, they say we're going into a global cooling cycle. And so the next, until in a 20, up to 2040, 2030, something like that, there's going to be a mini ice age. So actually people are going to be really shocked who put their vote on the fact that, you know, the destruction of our water and air, the way to cure it is to put forth the supposition that global warming, because then that it falls through as a fallacy when it's not based upon, you know, actual results. And so it makes people who really care about the environment look foolish, because you say, oh, and the whole underlying supposition of this global warming philosophy is that there's no God in control. Because they're saying that the universe is out of whack and man has reached the point where we have disturbed the universal arrangement by such a degree that, you know, we're going to burn ourselves up and the planet will burn up. Actually, these things are all factored in by the divine, like you were saying, the super soul controls. But what we do is we do go through cycles where it gets very hot and it gets very cold. Mm-hmm. And we're entering into a period according to the expansion of the sun, which is controlling the weather. If people could just accept like that it goes in cycles, but at the same time be cool with keeping the water clean and the air clean.
Yeah, I was going to say, we still have
rather than hitching our wagon to this supposition, because then it's going to turn cold. It is going to turn cold. And people are going to say, see, you're nonsense scientists were wrong. And so you don't need to get all environmentally, you know, active. So I say hitch your wagon to thus clean the air and clean the water. And let the natural phenomena of the universe on such a huge scale, you know, play itself out. If you study history, it's just so much science showing that we went through a global warming, just like we went through, and we're going to go through a global cooling, just like we go through. It's cyclical, like that.
Yeah, well, I think they allow for that a bit because they say climate change. But there's also cycle. There's the cycle of ages, and it must be Kali Yuga is for pollution time, because, and it's also karma and. Clean up the environment, do everything in a pure way. Because so many things we try to fix it, and my gosh, the oceans are getting all radioactive. The fish are all full of tumors. I read this because of not only full of plastic, but they're full of tumors because of Fukushima. Yeah, all the radiation constantly leaking into the ocean. Horrible things happening. That's like direct karma, in a sense. When you build something, you make something so it's going to poison everything or crash down on you, I guess that's like, they call it instant karma. Do something you're not supposed to do and bang it, you know, makes a mess. Some karma is more subtle in this event, but in Kali Yuga, this kind of stuff happens. So it's all of it, I guess. There's cycles of warming and cooling. I've seen those things too then. And there's also pollution, there's also karma, there's also, you know, the age of Kali, and so many times you can't fix one anyways, and still you can't fix them all anyways. Exactly. So you could maybe at least clean things up, and at least we have a clean conscience if we clean up the streams and the water and the air, and do things in a sustainable way, and don't try to, like all our electronic stuff, we didn't need it for ages. Now we're all dependent on it, and it's pretty handy. We can keep in touch with people, but. Causes suffering. Causing suffering. There are people in China suffering long hours in prison-like work conditions, and there's pollution from the kinds of elements being used to make these things, and then what to do with them. Every year they go outdated, and people buy new ones. What to do with these piles and piles and piles of cell phones and everything else. So we are really involved, neck deep, in things that we have to try somehow to work toward purity. Or whatever ways we can get our hands on to start with, we have to work toward purity and doing things Krishna's way.
What happens is, in Krishna consciousness, I've noticed a phenomenon that, you know, if one is actually seeking truth, I mean, without a vested motive. I want the truth, Lord. Whatever the truth may be, you know, if it turns out that I'm an imaginary creature and I don't, you know, I want to know what's going on. So honesty and truth, logic, all those things. So we seek out the truth. What happens is, though, in understanding this, the way the universe is set up, Prabhupada says sometimes we can seem callous because the truth is karma is existing and causing a lot of suffering. And the only way to check this onslaught of misery is to change the consciousness of the planet. And we know that to be true. But when you try to present that like they do the whole, these children being killed in schools and they're like, being slaughtered in a slaughterhouse. And then when you point out, well, yeah, but, we're slaughtering other living entities every day, and we're McDonald's with a little clown running around and give you a toy, and people are okay with that, so as a devotee we bring that up like, well, this is a reaction. They say, oh my God, you're so callous. How can you not understand? The problem is guns, or the problem is this, the problem is that. You say, no, the problem is that it's a godless civilization that has forgotten actual knowledge of the eternal self, and we're slaughtering these innocent living entities every day, and karma is being built up, and eventually it's paid off in war, and people being killed through violence. And it sounds like we are, insensitive and uncaring and not want to be, but the truth is that's the truth. I mean, what can you do? You can pretend like you don't know the truth and keep trying to be politically correct, or at some point we can just wake up and realize, we have to stop slaughtering animals. We have to. We have to stop that. And as the planet does that, the karma will become so much nicer. Prophet said even 10% of the planet becomes vegetarian. It becomes like a heavenly planet.
Wow.
He said 10%. So right now it's such a very small percentage, but it's changing. So we say we do care. We do have a solution. Stop the animal slaughter, and that will stop the other slaughter.
Yeah. We have to remember to convey the paradukkha when we're trying to explain this to people. We don't have suffering for ourselves, we suffer for the living entities having so much suffering. And we care about the children being shot. We care about people who are suffering so many things. But we want it to stop. We care about it. We want it to stop. Some people think, and sometimes the folks say, well, it's just your karma. It's just karma and so on. But we have to. We want it to stop. We don't want anybody to suffer. People are innocently being taught to eat meat and bite into that karmic reaction, and grow up being taught that's okay. And then that's not okay. There's a karmic reaction. So they're suffering and they didn't know. It's like fire. If you don't know fire is hot, you touch it, you still get burned. So we try to get people to stop touching fire. I guess there's a way to say it, so we can say that we can convey our compassion. And sometimes devotees in the past have been real good at presenting the philosophy and sounded, like you say, careless. Like you say about wars, well, it's their karma. But in children who are abused, or sometimes people say it's their karma. Well, it must be, but let's try and stop karma. Let's try to stop it from happening. So, yeah.
Prabhupada said if 10% became vegetarian, we're at 3.2% right now.
The what?
3.2.
Yeah.
In the United States.
Yeah.
In some countries, it's higher.
It's going both ways, because some countries, as they get a little wealthy, they start trying to imitate our way of eating meat all the time. So
India's 31%.
31% vegetarian? Only 31%? That's wonderful.
Krishna's grace, it will all happen by virtue of Tanya's mercy.
It should be 91%.
Yeah.
I can't see it. India's high.
Yeah. People don't understand that there's direct. They're worried about the rainforest, and then they go buy their hamburger. They have no idea the direct relationship.
I can't see it. It's got to be 91.
So, and
that's when it becomes the level. They say the onus is on us. This urgency to let people know in whatever way we possibly can.
Yeah. So, a lot of preaching to do. Anything else? So stop here. Thank you very much. All this is Srimad Bhagavatam. All this is Srimad Prabhupada.